Have you ever seen or found an abandoned car and thought, wow, I'd like to own that. I'd like to take possession of that. How might I own that since nobody's using it? It's abandoned. Well, my neighbor, Greg, did just that. He came over the other day in a car that he had, well, possessed as his own, and he explained the process. This is really interesting. Check this out.
Months of story.
12 months of story. So it's my buddy Greg, and this is what happens. Ali, this is what happens when a vehicle is abandoned in your parking lot. So this thing was abandoned at Tractor Supply.
It was abandoned at Tractor Supply, and it sat there for about 2 months. The store manager requested it be removed, so I said, well, I read about abandoned vehicles on the North Carolina DMV, and I did what they requested. I filled out the forms, and I had it towed, and I subsequently had it towed to my property because it's an abandoned vehicle.
So you definitely turned lemons into lemonade. I hear the motor running, Greg.
Yeah, I would say yes, but it was an uphill push.
So you filled out a bunch of forms, went through a bunch of rigmarole. I imagine you had to get some keys cut.
What? Sure. Sure.
Oh, you're an old schooler. You worked it out, huh?
I worked it out.
The same way you used to get vehicles home that you weren't supposed to have.
I have a key now.
I'm teasing.
So
you filled out all the forms, you took possession, and now you can legally sell it.
I can legally sell it, but the North Carolina DMV literally don't know how their own practices work. On multiple occasions, I was repeatedly told, you probably should contact an attorney because we don't know.
Because we don't know. We know what our site says, and it sounds easy, but we don't know how to administer that.
Yes, we don't know how the process works. And so most attorneys don't know how it works. So being the persevering son of a gun that I am, I just stuck to it.
I know, you are tenacious. So you have to be a Greg to work this out, but if you're that kind of person that can figure things out, well, there you go. If you find an abandoned vehicle, you can make it your own.
Yeah, call me, I'll walk you through it.
What did you end up putting in hours, and what did you end up with value?
Christ almighty. So, I probably got 300 plus hours trying to work.
No, stop it.
Well, I feel like I did anyway.
You probably got them. That means you got 40 hours.
It's been a year doing this process.
Yeah.
And
but if you had a week of work tied up in that, realistically, that's a good deal, right?
True that.
Yeah.
That week of work just drug out over 12 months.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So any tips for people that want to take possession of abandoned vehicles?
My first tip would be don't do it.
But some people are like you. They're like, damn, I want it.
But again, find this video.
You just wanted it because it was
and contact the site host, who will in turn contact me, and I'll walk you through it for a small fee.
You just didn't want to lose. You wanted to beat this. You wanted to figure this thing out.
I especially do not want to lose to the government.
It's like you got an afternoon. You don't have a great IQ, but you got a Rubik's Cube, and you're like, what the hell? I'll spend the day on it.
If you don't mind slamming your thumb with a hammer repeatedly.
But so it's a pretty good Ford SUV.
Starts right up, runs, drives, stops.
All right, another Greg project.
Yeah, another Greg.
So
Greg.
Tell me real quick how that worked. You getting it home? Did you do it? Did you do it on the sly, or did you do it legally?
No, it's legal. Again,
filled out papers and
you go online. You can go to North Carolina DMV, and the site will tell you that the first 2 forms to fill out. They make it sound easy right on the site. From there, it turns into an odyssey. And once they give you 1 form,
I'm not doing it.
You can have the vehicle towed, and I have a friend that has a tow company. He flatbedded it to my place. Yeah. So there you go.
Are there any other tips? I mean, these are going to be all over the country.
Yeah. Well, I can't speak for the rest of the country. I can only speak for North Carolina, but I'm sure it's hardly any different in any other state.
Yeah. So if nothing else, if the state allows you to tow it home, you can then part it out at least, right?
You could part it out.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And that's, people mention that, but it's like, that means I'm going to have to sit here and part this thing out.
And you don't want the chassis sitting in your yard
Yeah,
for the rest of your life.
Well, I didn't want to sit in there for a year, but it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a good vehicle. Why part it out? Because it runs, drives leather interior. It's got an upgraded stereo system.
Well, I know people are going to say, man, why didn't you show the car? What do you think something like this is worth?
Fair market would probably be about 35.
3,500. Say you made a few grand. That's not bad.
We gotta bring this back because some of them are dead now. Older celebrities you still find attractive. We're gonna dive into that in a second.
Oh, you got a ski rack?
6 o'clock hour.
Have an awesome Monday. We'll talk with you bright and early.
Oh man, these seats alone, you easily get $500.
It's a running and driving, stopping vehicle.
Great, good deal. All right, thanks for the story, man.
Peace out.